The story of Lucius Sício Dentatus is one of the most extraordinary tales that Rome has ever known. Surviving 120 battles and winning impossible duels? Get ready to discover how he achieved this. Imagine having your name sung in the streets as an almost unreachable hero, while at the same time being someone born without any privilege. This is the story of Lucius Sício Dentatus, the Roman Achilles. He was not only a victor of Roman wars, but a living proof that the will to defend, the people can transform a plebeian into a living legend, capable of facing impossible battles and surviving in nearly miraculous ways. Have you ever felt wronged, voiceless, or powerless to fight against an elite that seems to hold all the power? This Roman also found himself cornered in a system that judged him lesser because of his origins. Yet he pressed on, earned respect, and built a legacy so powerful that it crossed centuries. What if the great solution for those who feel underestimated is to understand how a simple plebeian, fueled by indignation, became the most feared and honored warrior in Rome? Are you prepared to meet the man who exceeded limits and inspired an entire generation of soldiers and citizens? Lucius Sício Dentatus, known as the Roman Achilles, began his life without any privileges. He was not among the noble patricians who ruled society, but that did not stop him from becoming a true legend. While many names of the Roman Republic were written in golden letters by official history, Dentatus's journey was forged by the sweat of the plebs, by his love for his people, and by an unshakable determination to survive each enemy assault. Some ancient sources, such as the writings of Cicero and Valerius Maximus, mention this warrior in a nearly mythological light. He reportedly participated in around 120 battles throughout his life, an impressive feat even by Roman standards, accustomed as they were to constant conflicts. Moreover, records indicate at least 8 individual duels, a rare and risky occurrence, as the fate of the combatant lay just one blow away. However, what caught more attention about this man was not just the numbers, but the number of scars he bore. 45 battle marks, each telling a story of sacrifice and overcoming adversity. These signs on his body were seen as living medals, reminders that Dentatus survived where most succumbed. This ultimately attracted admiration from many, but suspicion from those who feared his growing prestige. His bravery did not arise from her vain desire for glory. As a plebeian, he lived through the bitterness of a life filled with unjust tributes and abuses from the powerful. These everyday pains fueled his drive to become not only a warrior, but also an active political voice, capable of raising the banner of social justice within the walls of Rome. Although official history emphasizes the names of generals and consuls, Dentatus showed that the genius of a commander is also born from the real experience of the battlefield. It was common for the Roman Republic to reward its best soldiers with honors, but few came close to the number of decorations he accumulated, including civic crowns for saving citizens amidst fierce Roman wars. This combination of military courage and commitment to the people brought Dentatus unparalleled popularity among the poor, who saw him as someone capable of standing up for their rights. At the same time, the aristocracy saw him as an enemy. As Dentatus rose, he challenged the centuries-old structure that kept the plebs subservient to the whims of the patricians. But how does a simple citizen, born without any advantages, manage to ascend to such a respected position and become a legend? The beginning of his fame, presented in what many call a name among legends, was not merely the result of senseless bravery. The Roman Achilles fought with heart and an unbreakable conviction, which inspired confidence in his followers. While some warriors became famous for acts of violence, Dentatus earned renown for the intelligent and compassionate way he protected allied lives while imposing respect among enemies. This narrative becomes even stronger when we understand the historical and social context in which Dentatus lived. The 5th century BC was marked by intense conflicts between patricians and plebeians. While the elite sought to increase taxes and secure their advantages, the poorer population revolted against measures that suffocated them. It was in this scenario that a figure of unparalleled courage emerged to represent the aspirations of the humblest. Throughout the political conflicts, Dentatus waged a personal war against injustices. The first military mission imposed on him by Consul Tito had not only the goal of confronting a hostile tribe, but also of removing a potential leader from the plebs. The plan was clear: weaken his popularity by sending him on a risky campaign. Against all odds, he survived and returned as a hero, which further angered the elites. The rise of Dentatus as tribune of the plebs happened almost as a natural consequence. His prestige grew to such an extent that, even without wishing for direct involvement in politics, the people elected him for this role. And it was in this position that he had the opportunity to condemn abuses committed by consuls Tito and Caio, showcasing how popular power could lead to justice and the moralization of the state. This same combative stance he exhibited against government abuses accompanied him in every battle. After standing out in successive missions, he reached the position of primus pilus, the highest rank a plebeian could achieve within the Roman legions. This accomplishment was almost an unattainable dream for someone without patrician blood. But Dentatus proved that dedication and courage were just as valuable as lineage. However, the pinnacle of his military career was the recognition he received for his numerous honors. He possessed a collection of ashipu, ferus, arila, torques, and crowns that even the most experienced legionaries could not match. His achievements reflected not only his skill on the battlefield, but the essence of one who persisted for the plebeian cause. Reaching the corona of grace, the highest distinction in Rome, was almost like receiving the ultimate consecration from his peers. In light of such glory, an inevitable question arises: to what extent can these seemingly mythological feats be historically confirmed, and how did this change the very history of Rome? The way this narrative can be presented in video is crucial for conveying the full grandeur of Dentatus. For this, a heroic, yet not exaggerated style is ideal. The narration should highlight not only military feats, but also the human essence of the warrior, the warmth of someone who has empathy for his own, and at the same time the strategic coldness in combat. Battle images can be shown at a moderate pace, avoiding excessively bloody scenes. The focus needs to be on emotional intensity, illustrating how a soldier might feel before facing 120 battles and 8 individual duels, bringing to light the tension and fascination with his resilience. This is key to generating a genuine connection with the audience. An epic yet discreet soundtrack reinforces the crucial scenes. The viewer should hear the drums sounding in the background, feel the heartbeat of the Roman army, and at the same time perceive the respect that the Roman Achilles earned with each step he took. The contrast between moments of silence and peaks of musical intensity can accentuate the duality between civil life and the chaos of Roman wars. Illustrations, historical reconstructions, and maps are valuable resources for situating the audience within Dentatus's expeditions. When he is sent on the mission against the Achaeans, for example, showing a map of the Roman advance and the terrain's topography helps to understand the real difficulties this warrior faced. All this can be done in a didactic and fluid manner, without excessive technical details. To preserve the authenticity of his achievements, it is important to note that many passages of Dentatus's life are shrouded in legends. This approach further humanizes the narrative, as the audience understands that beyond being a hero, he was also a product of the stories the Roman people told to find inspiration. He is the hero who emerges from the collective imagination and survives through generations. In the visual construction, it is essential to balance the use of on-screen text with the narration. In some passages, inserting small impactful phrases or data about each decoration will allow the viewer to better memorize the grandeur of Dentatus's achievements. Additionally, a comparative chart can be emphasized. How many honors did he accumulate compared to other great names of the Roman Republic? With so much material to explore, the remaining question is, how can these visual and narrative layers turn the story of Dentatus into not just a recounting of military feats, but also a message of inspiration for those watching today? When we talk about legendary figures like Lucius Sício Dentatus, it is essential to consider the bias of ancient sources. Authors like Cicero and Valerius Maximus, who mentioned this Roman Achilles, lived in a time when heroic deeds were often embellished. Still, the factual basis exists. Dentatus was indeed a tribune of the plebs and had an uncommon military career. It is common in Roman historiography to exalt virtues such as courage, patriotism, and loyalty. Dentatus was elevated to the status of a symbol by embodying all these attributes. In a Rome that was still forming institutionally, having someone who, even though he was of the plebe, reached elevated positions and accumulated honors was a constant reminder that the strength of the people could shape the destiny of the state. On the other hand, many modern historians question whether it is possible for one person to have participated in 120 battles or won 8 duels without suffering fatal injuries. The probability of a soldier enduring so many campaigns and emerging victorious is indeed low. Still, the 45 scars mentioned show that he did not come out unscathed, which lends credibility to the narrative of his numerous fights and dangers faced. The political achievements are also punctuated with care. The election of Dentato as tribune of the plebs in 454 BC is a real milestone that is documented in the records. The fact that he was responsible for denouncing consuls who engaged in embezzlement shows that his political influence extended far beyond the battlefield. This reinforces the thesis that the Roman was a kind of super citizen, loved by the plebeians and feared by the aristocracy. Another fascinating aspect is understanding the reason behind his nickname. It is said that Dentato refers to having been born with teeth, which would symbolize a predisposition to aggression or perhaps a unique fortune on the battlefield. What is certain is that this became an emblem. The man who from birth was destined to bite into his challenges with strength and unshakable determination. In current academic debates, Dentato appears as proof of the importance of the soldier-citizen figure in early Rome. He was the soldier who not only obeyed orders, but also directly influenced the political decisions of the Senate and society. In many ways, he embodies the idea that anyone determined and courageous could indeed become essential to the Republic. But can the story of Dentato be seen merely as a legend inflated by Romans seeking national myths, or are there more concrete proofs that confirm each of his feats? The image of Lucius Sício Dentatus, the Roman Achilles, has been shaped over the centuries as an inspiration for generations of plebeians dreaming of carving out their space in Rome. He represents a symbol of resistance that anyone can rise to the heights of great generals if they have the right motivation and the desire to serve the common good. Dentato's political legacy was crucial in strengthening the role of the tribune of the plebs, serving as an example for those who came after him. His journey indicated that it wasn't necessary to be born into aristocracy to stand out in public life. This fact was decisive in the evolution of Roman institutions, giving voice to those who were once silenced. His feats on the battlefield inspired both officers and legionaries and cultivated the myth that exceptional courage can lead an individual to defy the laws of probability. His honors and scars are still remembered as one of the greatest examples of perseverance and bravery that Roman history has recorded. The political endeavors he was involved in, culminating in actions against abuses of power, reinforced the view of a Dentato who not only wielded the sword but also pursued justice. In a way, his model of leadership, based on principles, contributed to reforming Rome's own image of its warriors. This soldier citizen transcended the idea that the army was solely for defending the elite in power. He proved that brute force was only part of the game, and that true revolution came from the ability to question and intervene in the archaic political structures that kept the masses subservient. Being remembered as a nearly mythological hero, however, did not mean that Dentato was free from historical contestation. Even today, countless debates analyze the plausibility of his feats, his motivations, and whether other heroes were confused with him over the years. After all, how can such an ancient story still provoke contemporary reflections on courage, honor, and social justice in our society today? Lucius Sício Dentatus makes us think about how determination can break through seemingly insurmountable barriers, even when everything seems out of our reach. He showed that behind every great war, there is an even greater struggle for individual dignity, and for everyone's right to a just life. Ultimately, the great lesson is that true heroism can arise in the most unlikely people, as long as there is motivation to fight for something that goes beyond self-interest. In this sense, the story of the Roman Achilles serves as a reminder that our will to overcome challenges can inspire collective change. Now it's up to you. What stands out to you the most in the journey of this legendary warrior? Share your opinions, reflections, and questions in the comments, as debate is what keeps history alive.